Andrew played your third yesterday. Have you pulled up, mate?
Yeah, pulled up pretty well. It's obviously a pretty hard game. Everyone was cracking in pretty hard, so I think there's a few sore boys today, but always a little less sore after a good win.
Another solid performance. People sort of talking you up as the real deal now. Is that sort of a feeling around the group that you're playing some really good footy and this might be your year?
Yeah, look, we're obviously cliche. We're trying not to look too far ahead, but yeah, we're playing well at the moment, and the boys are high on confidence. So we've just got to keep finding those cues to keep it going, and sort of we went through what happened last year with dropping off after we were in a good position at halfway. So obviously it's going to be our challenge from here on out is to not let that happen again.
Is it hard not to think too far ahead, to think later on in the year?
I was actually thinking this morning, probably what we went through last year might be a good thing for our experience now, because it's probably forcing us not to do that, and we might have been guilty of that last year of looking a bit far ahead and maybe getting caught up in our own performance. But I think everyone understands now that the position we're in is we're in a good position now, obviously, and we don't want to let it slip with 4 or 5 bad performances.
The coach mentioned yesterday about the depth and the growing depth and the amount of blokes you've got coming back from injury and putting pressure on for places. I mean, what's it like out there? Does everyone feel the heat, the selection pressure?
Yeah, it's hard. There's guys obviously fighting for spots and trying to play as well as they can individually to hold their spots. But in saying that, sort of that individual performance is a bit of a byproduct of the team playing well together, and then that flows into guys working hard to try and hold their own spots, if that sort of makes sense. But yeah, there's definitely challenge from underneath and guys coming back from injury. So I'm sure Rat's made the point that it's healthy for the group, and we're better for it.
Does that actually help team performance? I can kind of mention it works the other way around, but does that actually help team performance? The fact that everyone's pushing so hard on the track.
Yeah, it does. I think it's a bit of a difference. I mean, when you're going poorly, guys can get selfish and try and play for themselves to hold their spot. Whereas I think in comparison to our situation now is everyone wants to be part of that success, and playing well and helping the team win is our greatest motivation. So and obviously having the ball ants playing really well, and guys down there, Brock McLean and Hoops and Kane Lucas coming back from injuries, putting pressure on the senior guys. So that's can't be anything but healthy.
You mentioned that drop away last year. What's sort of in place this year, do you think, that means that hopefully that won't happen again? Like, is it difference in pre-season, the fact that you don't have so many injuries this time around, or
probably just the experience of having gone through it, being in that position last year is probably the biggest thing. Just the experience of it. We were 7-3 or 7-4 last year, and in the top 4 at this point. So we obviously learnt from our mistakes of when we dropped off. I think having Alan Richardson and Gavin Brown and John Barker on board, they've brought just a different light and a different view on things, and from that, I think Rats has also learnt from the experience that happened last year. So probably that's probably the biggest reason we're trying to stay on top of it this time around.
Testing fortnight ahead, the Swans and Eagles both right on your tail. Do you sort of approach that fortnight as a block, or is it literally one at a time?
Yeah, it's one at a time, obviously. Yeah, the Swans you can just never ever count them out. I think everyone will be preparing physically and probably emotionally for a tough game. It always is against them. So, and then obviously following that, West Coast are in great form and really bounced back to some great touch. So we've got a couple of challenging weeks ahead for sure.
Are there fresh lessons in your mind from just 7 weeks ago when you took on the Swans?
Probably not. It was a different sort of game. Obviously, it was soaking wet that night. Playing on the SCG, it's a lot different to how it's going to pan out at Etihad. So maybe just the experience of playing against new guys that played last time. But in saying that, the Swans are pretty predictable. We know what we're going to get from them, and just be whether we can match it.
It's might be a bit of a long-winded question, but I mean, fans are obviously starting to get a bit excited, and you said that yesterday with the massive crowd there and all that sort of thing. Do you think having the loss maybe in the elimination final last year might be a little bit of a blessing in disguise, I suppose, from the group the aim still might be just to win that one final, whereas if last year you happened to tick that box, it might have been like, well, now we've got to try and take the next step.
Yeah, possibly. I don't think it would have hurt our development if we had have won that game and then, you know, gone on to maybe, you know, win the next game and play in a prelim or something like that. But yeah, obviously there's excitement from the fans, and you know, like I said before, with our confidence up, we want to ride as long as we can, and hopefully put the things in place to protect ourselves against a drop off.
How was Carrazzo pulled up, and what did you think of his game yesterday?
Yeah, I thought he was great. Well, I saw him just before, and he looks like he's pulled up okay. So, yeah, a bit of a buzz around the ground whenever he went near the ball, and he's reliable and predictable to us. When he's out there, we know exactly what we're going to get from him, and I think that's why we rate him so highly internally.
Michael Jamieson, how's he this morning?
Yeah, good. It was a big effort for him to get up and play. Obviously, everyone he hurt his ankle a week before, but he's a pretty tough character, Jamo. So I expect. Obviously, he ended up playing a fantastic game. So from all reports, he's pulled up really well.
So no issues from his side?
No.
Given where you guys are sort of at the halfway point of the year, do you expect to finish top 4?
We expect to finish top 4. I don't think anyone expects to finish top 4 at this point of the year, but it's our challenge and our goal. So if we keep developing and all the factors that we've spoken about, you know, pressure from underneath and challenging for spots is going to help us. But obviously at this point, halfway point of the season, there's still a long way to go. So our expectations are tempered a bit.
Mitch Robinson's potentially finding himself in a bit of trouble. I guess it's just a byproduct of the way he goes about his footies, and he's pretty hard at the ball, Mitch.
Yeah, he certainly is. I've been on the receiving end of a few at training, so I'm actually pretty glad we share the same jumper. But yeah, obviously he plays on the edge, Robbo, and he's playing some really consistent footy at the moment. He's finding the balance between attacking the footy and spreading and playing his role for the team. So yeah, he's going really well, and hopefully if all goes well, he'll be available next week, hopefully.
You know, obviously at least it'd be a blow to lose him at this time, considering the footy he's playing, wouldn't it? Yeah, he's obviously become a really important part of the team, and his attack on the footy and his pressure on the opposition really stands out. So yeah, like I said, hopefully all goes well. He should be right for next week. Speaking of that improvement, what has Brett said that you still need to sort of do in the next 10, 12 weeks ahead of finals potentially?
I think our biggest focus point is just keeping our objective and our goals clear. So just sticking to the structures and how we want to play. Obviously, the successful teams over the last few years have shown they're great defensive teams. So that's our challenge, is just to keep being a stingy team defensively and strangling the opposition and sort of trying to play that final style footy, which obviously bodes well in September. So I think that's the big challenge for us, is just to keep playing and sticking to that style of footy.